Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to have you join us for Momversations today. We started this conversation once the pandemic started, right after the pandemic started, and we are so hopeful and thankful for everyone that's participated in our series so far. I want to make sure you take a moment to just look at a little bit about who we are now because I can tell you about it, but the best way to learn a little bit about who St. Anne's is and what we do is to see a small clip. Check it out. Do you see it? You can see it?
The family advocates are awesome and they're so helpful and they genuinely want you to grow as a person and help us succeed. And they've done that for me and many other girls. My kids are happy. We have a place to sleep every night. And that means a lot to me.
It was like 10, 11, my first time that I lived on the streets. And in a lot of ways, St. Anne's became my family. They were the ones that were there through the rough times when I wanted to cry. So I felt so much better and relaxed and safe. Now that I'm here at St. Anne's, I do feel like I'm helping somebody and that I'm giving back.
I love St. Anne's.
That is what we're all about here, thriving families, brighter futures. It is not easy work, but it is work that we do from the heart. And we're so excited because during this time where there's a lot of feeling of hopefulness, there are challenges. It's interesting. Literally, every time we get ready to have a show, there are things that are going on in the community. First of all, we started during the pandemic. There have been so many things going on in our community. And, there are injustices that are being faced every day. There's so much going on. As we get together to talk with some amazing people, we always have someone on our program who is a former resident, an alumni, someone who has walked and went through the journey of being a participant in our program and can speak to that journey and what it looks like. We're so excited for our guest today. Laura Molina is going to share some things with you. We're also excited to have Katira Rafikzada, another person who is a mother in our community, a philanthropist, a volunteer, someone who has given much of her time to provide support and guidance and just a wonderful time for growth and learning with our young people, especially around the area of food and other areas. So we'll talk more about that later. But I just want to say that, as an organization, we recognize these are challenging times. We are not tone deaf. We're very well aware that every single program we've had, there's some challenges within our community. And, the fact that we can continue to be an essential organization and provide housing and family-based services, all the things you saw at the end of our program, mental health services in the community and here on site and transitioning to telehealth and our ECE. I want to say that I understand right now families are challenged. People are trying to work and do the best they can while trying to homeschool their children. School is starting around the country, and the pressure faced by mothers and parents and fathers to try to do their jobs and homeschool and try to juggle doing the best they can with both is very difficult right now. And safety comes first, and we want the best for our children. We have an early childhood education department, and we have Head Start and Early Head Start. And so our teachers are working with our children and working with our parents to make sure that they feel comfortable and as confident as possible in being the teacher. They've always been the first teacher. Parents are always the first teachers, but now there's a higher level of expectation. And so we want to be supportive. We're keeping all families, all parents, all communities in prayer with that because it is challenging. And so today, while many people have hopped on to watch Momversations, I know some people are watching, the March on Washington, the 2020 version, Dr. King, held in '63. We're thankful today that all the people on our program care and fight on behalf of justice for all those we serve, because we're not an organization that is spirited by, moved by hate, divisiveness. We're about love. We're about helping. We're about working with people from a strength base. And when you come into our organization, you see these photos behind me. This is representative of all you'll see. And so when you live next door and in a community with someone, you learn to love, and we help foster that. So anyway, there's so much to talk about. I don't want to go on and on. One of the things I will share a little bit more about is we've been very fortunate to have open spaces here at St. Anne's. We have a lot of space, and during this time of the pandemic, it is important to be able to have spaces that we can utilize for activities, for families and children, safe spaces. And so we've started looking at our outdoor spaces, spaces that we've may have not used fully in the past, because we want to have activities and provide that opportunity. So we were fortunate enough to have architectural firm Perkins and Will donate some time with their amazing architects and staff to come up with ideas that they would do on a voluntary basis for our programming. But what that means is now that they've given us these amazing ideas, we are looking towards the community to help support an amazing patio space. So I'll talk more specifically about this space that you're looking at right now, but we know that that area can be transformed, and we are going to look towards you. People are always asking, how can you help? How can we help St. Anne's? And patio furniture, chairs, tables, anything that you can think of to help us recreate that space for wellness and health for our families and children will be great. But right now, enough talking about these things. It's time to transition. I'm excited to talk with Laura Molina. She has been in our program many years ago. She has 3 children. She's a mother. She's working with Occidental Studios. And the thing that I feel that is exciting about that is one of the important parts of our program is workforce development. We want all of our young people to have an opportunity to be successful in the future. We always talk about the rents, and housing is very expensive here in LA. So the fact that this young woman went into our workforce development program, was able to sustain a job, I believe it's 13 years later, with Occidental Studios. And we're proud to say that the CEO, the co-founder of Occidental Studios, Craig Darian, is on our board. So it's a full circle moment. So Laura, I am so excited to have you here today. You're working at Occidental Studios, and you have a lived experience because you were here in this program. So tell me a little bit about, what it was that inspired you to really try to do your best and work towards, being as successful as you are in life and in motherhood.
Well, honestly, I had my daughter when I was 15, and I had her a few months after I moved into St. Anne's. And my prior goals to having her were a lot different than after I had her. And
Hmm.
my new goal was to graduate high school finish my schooling and then move forward after that. And my daughter was really the one that pushed me to do that and to
Wow.
make a better life for her and to make her proud of me.
And that's important. You know, we all want someone to be proud of us, and when we have our child to inspire us. And having a child at 15 isn't easy. It is a
No.
journey that you know, challenges many people in our community. We talk about this all the time, that it's about the supports that are provided. You know, I know one of the people that worked with you, who is now our COO, is Amber Rivas, and she spoke so highly of your drive and your motivation. And it's critical that we have people that we can look to as a support. And so you are now a support for others. Now, when you were living here at St. Anne's, what is it that you saw? What program, was there any particular program that you feel helped inspire you to really achieve some of the things that you already had within you? Because I always say it's within you. We're just here to help bring it out.
One of the things that I started doing when I was a resident was volunteering in the activities department.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started volunteering in the activities department, I turned into being the editor in chief of the Teen Times
Okay.
newsletter. So I would interview resident staff and distribute it to the other residents at the facility, and it was just a good way to pass time, and it got me really excited to work.
Oh, wow. So we need to have you host some things. You're editing, Teen Times, doing different things. So is that kind of what gauged your interest when you had the opportunity to get the opportunity to work with Occidental Studios? I mean, I know it's not exactly the same, but there's that creative side.
Yes, it did, and that was my first actual job outside of St. Anne's. So I didn't really know what to expect going in, but I mean, 13 years later, I love it. So
Yeah, that's amazing, because in this day and time, it's difficult to have that type of longevity with all the things that are going on, you know, in various aspects of the economy. And I know some people right now are, you know, dealing with the fact that, you know, many areas of business are closing, and so we're always conscious of that. So if, you know, parenting isn't easy, you know, and right now with all the dilemmas, and I know with challenges with the pandemic, but you have children that range from 15 to 1. I just saw your beautiful son. He is a tall boy, big boy. Tell us a little bit about what you see as your secret to positive parenting, because, you know, you were young. You could have said, you know, I don't know if I can do this, but tell us what you think your secrets to positive parenting, and also, you know, what advice would you share with those parents who are juggling that concern of, you know, homeschooling now?
I think there's not a right or wrong answer to this question, but I feel like just having patience and taking it day by day with online schooling and having your job, juggling the two, and really just taking it day by day and asking for help from those around you when you need it,
Mm-hmm.
and creating a support system for yourself to be able to manage doing everything that you need to right now during the pandemic.
So a support system is very important, and knowing it's okay to ask for help. And that's important words of advice to share with all those who watch, because I think right now we're so, you know, focused on being self-reliant, making sure we can do things ourselves. This is a time where we all need help. Every single person in the community needs help. And so, you know, I'm glad that you're able to share that. So over this period, you're working at Occidental Studios, you're managing motherhood, you're doing all these things. I heard you were always smart and resourceful. What drove you, and what would you tell, you know, your younger self if you had an opportunity to have a moment to say, you know, wow, you had no idea it was going to end here, but what would you tell your younger self at this point in your life?
I think to take things at my own pace and not compare myself to other people, and the way that they're moving might be different than the way that I'm moving. And as long as I get to where I need to be, then that's my version of being successful. It may
Yes.
take longer, it may take faster, but as long as you get there.
As long as you keep moving and knowing that we're all different and we all have different goals and we all have different paths to get there, but you had a goal and that's the key. And you kept going in that right direction and you're doing I think you're doing an amazing job. I hear great things about you all the time, and the fact that you're able to share with others is amazing. So any final
Thank
things
you.
before we transition to speak with Katira? Any thoughts or anything that you would like to say? I appreciate you, of course, taking time out of your busy day to have the opportunity to share with those who are watching, because some of the young people that are currently in the program could be looking up to you in a way that says, wow, look at her. She went through the workforce development, had this connection, and she's working there 13 years later. So we thank
I,
you.
I think everyone just needs to keep pushing forward and follow the path that you want to go in life and not give up, because there's times I'm sure a lot of people just it gets too hard, but you got to keep pushing, keep going. And St. Anne's really helped me get to where I am today, because I don't know what I would have done had I not gone through the program and done the workforce development and worked my way up to adulthood. It was a blessing having St. Anne's help me out with that.
Well, it's a blessing for us to hear those words, because in this work, we talk about us and our whole staff being essential workers. And when people think of essential workers, they're thinking sometimes of other folks. But in our housing programs, we have to be here. We have to be here daily. There is no, I'm not coming to work, because we have young people that need to be here. So your words are helping to fuel and provide our staff with that additional boost during this time. So thank you for being that bright light. You're not going, you're going to temporarily be off our screen where I switch over and speak to Katira. Uh, so right now I'm excited to switch over because we're going to be talking with Katira Rafiksada. She has been an amazing philanthropist, volunteer for St. Anne's for many years, well before I got here. What I am encouraged and excited about is many times we will see individuals be a part of supporting an organization, sometimes for a camera, a social media shout out, and all of that. But what I like about Katira is that Katira has volunteered and worked hard in St. Anne's on support of St. Anne's, initially coming to us through Alliance of Moms. And she has been an avid supporter who cares about our young women and our families and children. It is very different when someone comes into an organization that has a heart. She brings her children, she brings her husband. She is someone who, people see in the celebrity community with her and her spouse, but they're not here for photo ops. She's not here for that purpose. She's here to truly help, and she's actually been a part of supporting our program, looking at the issues of food insecurity, making sure that there's the opportunities for our young people to have delicious meals in a way that they are learning and have those beautiful takeaways. She is from Kabul, Afghanistan. She's grown up in California. Now she's an Angelino full fledged and spends time in the community. So I am thankful to be able to welcome our long term supporter, Katira Rafiqzada. Hello, Katira. How
Hi,
are you?
hi guys. I'm
I
great. How are you?
Good. I hope I didn't forget anything. I said you have such a wealth of experience and background that, I'm trying to recall it all. So thank you for being here today. When I think about the fact that our young women look up to, people who come in to work with them, because they look up to the people, especially those who they can see truly care. there's a difference between someone who comes in and someone who actually has a heart for the program. So tell us a little bit about the connection that you have with our program. And I'll start with the question that I originally had in the intro, where some people come for a moment and a photo op in a community, and that's not bad either. But what is it that has caused you to come and stay and have a heart for this work and working around food and love? Because food made with love is very different than just food.
I want to first apologize if, in any shape or form, my kids interrupt this
This is
call
Momversations. We
because they.
understand. We love it.
And second, Lauren, I'm really humbled that you even included me in this conversation. I appreciate that very much. I think when I look at everything that people are doing right now, my contribution feels so small compared to what people are doing and what people are bringing to light, that it's very humbling that you've included me into this.
Yes, no.
And I want to, if it wasn't for Alliance of Moms who introduced me to St. Anne's, I would have never known that just down the street from my house, there was this incredible space that took care of a population that I am very sensitive to and I can relate to from a different lens. But to answer your question, I also appreciate that you noticed that I've been doing this for as long as I've been doing this, and I haven't really posted a lot about it on my social media platform. I don't really talk about it a lot on social media unless I can tell when I'm in front of somebody that they genuinely are interested, and then I will open up and start talking. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think I was very protective of this population. I was protected for their safety. I was protective for their identity, for their kids. And I'm really sensitive to people taking advantage of the moment. And because I personally I don't really have, or I didn't have a lot of consistency in my upbringing, I'm also sensitive to what consistency looks like in this population. So if you're not really about it, I don't really entertain it.
Yeah.
So I just didn't want to be flashy about it because I've seen it happen with others and then there's no progress and there's no follow-up. So I just stayed the course. And now 5 years later, it's really beautiful what has blossomed from the program. And these moms and what you guys are doing, it's incredible.
So thank you. So, the interest and the connection with food and, having the opportunity to look at how we try to work to help with food insecurity, making sure it's provided, but provided and presented in a beautiful way. The tablescapes that you all provide and have the young women participate in, the food that's provided. You see some photos here of moms chopping and dicing and Chef Courtney and all the amazing joy and love that she brings to the work that's been done here. How did you kind of start with that interest in that area with food?
Well, as a typical immigrant, you get a job in the restaurant field because that's like the one area that doesn't necessarily need you to speak the language. And I'm such a labor person. The joke amongst my friends is I'm really bad at responding at text messages. I'm really bad at responding at emails. But if you get me in front of you, I'm like one of the best people to be in front of because you'll get my attention. And I like using my hands. I like actually physically being there to do the work. So restaurants and food just made sense to me also because I come from a culture where everything is an event. Everything is surrounded around food. So it just naturally spoke to me. My aunts had restaurants growing up. So I started in the restaurant industry and just worked my way up from being the dishwasher girl to the hostess to the prep girl. And what I noticed is at the time, my household, there was a lot of chaos and some unhealthiness happening because my mom was so young when she had me, so she didn't have the resources to really know how to deal with her own anger, her own disappointments in life. And at that point, it got taken out a lot on my brother and I. So being in the restaurant and in the kitchen, it gave me a sense of family. And it gave me a sense of chosen family. And then the actual, the ability to be able to make a meal, it felt very rewarding that I did something with my hands. And then the instant reaction from somebody eating your food and saying, wow, that's really delicious. It was the validation that wasn't there in my home.
Okay.
And once I felt like there was family and there was validation and I made something with my hands and it fed my labor of like being physical because I had a lot of energy as a child, which I'm now paying for with my two kids. It transcends and it really saved me from where my path was heading to. I genuinely believe that if I didn't have that family growing up, and I was working 40, 45 hours a week, and that's high school. And then when I got to college, it went to like 50, 55 hours. And then after college, it went to 60, 65 hours a week. So if you're spending that much time in that environment, and sadly, some of the environment was also verbally abusive, which sadly I was accustomed to. So I really climbed the ladder because I was able to disconnect from it and not take it so personally.
And the experience provided like a familial setting, a home, and also an alternative. So you learned at the early age that experience could be comforting. You talk about comfort food. It was comforting.
And it was, when you're sitting around the table and you're eating food, it doesn't matter if the person sitting around the table is rich or poor or speaks your language or doesn't speak your language, comes from a broken family, doesn't come from a broken family, what race, because everybody around that table has one thing in common, which is the food that's being served. So food is a universal language.
Yeah.
And once that clicked in my head, I just had more hope in life. My dreams became more vibrant. My ambition became completely different, and it saved me. So when I was pregnant with my son, it was the first time I stopped working since I was 13 years old. And the natural instinct is there has to be something I could do that allows me to be a stay-at-home mom and still be able to give back. And that's when Alliance of Mom introduced me to St. Anne's. And what I saw at St. Anne's was myself. And then my mother was 17 when she had me. I saw really beautiful, strong females that weren't given the right hand in life. And I just, when I think of my mother giving birth to me at 17, I really, really think giving life to giving birth to a human life is a huge sense of responsibility. And when you have that big responsibility, it is not natural to do that alone. We need help. We need resources to cultivate this life. And what I saw at St. Anne's was a population that didn't have the resources that should have been given to them. And St. Anne's was the first step of providing you these resources. And then I was like one out of 100 resources that is there. So my team, and thank God for Chef Courtney, came on. And the model of the program was we were going to teach these mothers how to cook a healthy meal. And while they were learning how to cook the meal, their kids were being taken care of by Alliance of Mom volunteers. And then we all, after dinner, sat down in a beautifully curated table
Beautiful.
that almost felt like a wedding that they were
Yes,
walking
they were
into.
gorgeous.
And then we just sat around and had conversations about what it means to be a mom, and what it means to be a single mom, and what it means to do it in this economic climate. And afterwards, we gifted them cookware
Yeah,
that they could go back
and
and
replicate and use
use
that.
to replicate the meal. And thank God for Grub Market, who sponsors the food that we use to make that meal.
Yeah.
And out of this program, some of the girls wanted to become chefs. And Chef Courtney hired a few of them in her kitchen, and some of them are continually getting promoted, and they're commuting 2 hours from
Yes.
St. Anne's
Yes.
all the way to where the job is, where the restaurant is, on a bus just to work 12-hour shifts. It's
And
not
that's,
easy to
yeah,
work.
it isn't.
No.
But to me, that speaks to what you were doing, what Chef Courtney was doing. People can tell, and I would go back to this, and this is our philosophy for our organization. I talk to our staff about this all the time. People can tell when people are doing things because they genuinely care, they love what they're doing, and they're doing it from the heart. You planted a seed, you made sure that they became interested in the food preparation, just looking at the love that's put into it. And now someone has a stepping stone to a career that they may not have thought about had they not had the experience. And I really believe that young people need to experience things in these positive realms so that they have access to opportunity. They're able to see this. So, you mentioned, getting the support from Grubhub, getting the food. We would have amazing meals for the young women, and you all will sit and talk. A lot of families and in the community are facing, food insecurity right now, in communities of color and many communities. When I mention communities of color, because many of the young people that we work with are from those communities. What do you feel, or how do you think, we can continue to work on looking at how some of these issues can, be dealt with or managed, or just your ideas or thoughts? Because obviously your work and what you've done helps in that arena. But food insecurity is a major issue. We've given out food from 9 to 12 here every day during the
Yeah.
pandemic, and people are showing up in droves. So any thoughts you may have?
I I genuinely believe that if we, as citizens of this world, start looking at food as more of a rights based approach and not an entitlement approach, we could actually start seeing real change. I believe that our world, our nation, looks at food as something that, it fancy, or, oh yeah, that's like, that's over there. But it is a human right to have nutritional, sustainable food. And if you're, it to me, health insurance, food, life, they all are the same to me.
Yeah.
And
Can't make it without
until
the
we
sustenance.
until we as a nation stop looking at it as a charity and start looking at it as a necessity, we won't really see a change. And I think that's the problem with what we're having. And even when I'm doing these dinners and some of the ingredients that Courtney brings out and some of the items that we're eating, you could see the look on the mom's face. They're like, oh, I didn't know that I could have that.
Yeah.
And that breaks my heart because nutrition, and when I say I didn't know I could have that, that's as basic as vegetables. It could be as basic as, oh, I didn't even know that product doesn't comes from the ground and not from the box.
Experience.
I have to create boundaries in that world because it sucks the life out of me when I really, really think about how disheartening it is how we look at food in this nation, and how many kids in the world are, when we talk about COVID and we talk about the election that's coming up and we talk about all of the stuff that's happening around race. we're forgetting what's happening to these kids
Yeah.
and hunger
Yeah.
and how big of a problem it is. So it's a very, very, very important part of my life.
Thank you for your
Food has
support.
saved me therapeutically, food has saved me physically. And I just hope that I continue doing work around it. I hope I keep lobbying this concept of we need to stop looking at it as charity. And it really makes me happy when I see there are people in the community that are doing incredible things. There's an artist, she goes by Summer Thang,
Okay.
and she has, I know that, I'm so sorry. This is what
Okay.
happens.
That's all right.
I know that
You froze, but
we
you're back.
we donated, me and Christina Elmore has donated food boxes to St. Anne's. And this summer, this artist has literally given out, I believe, over 7,500 food boxes to the Watts community. So when you see things like that happening, people celebrate it, but like her and like us, it's like, why does this have to be a charity?
Yes.
Why is this not something that just doesn't
Standard.
happen? Like,
Yeah.
it has to be a standard.
Well,
So
we are so thankful that you're so passionate about this, that you have been a champion for mothers, which, we're talking about the food aspect, but you're a champion for our mothers, in the sense of looking at them as people. Everybody wants to be seen, and you're able to bring in and come in, and you and Courtney and your team, you see them and you hear them and you bring that. I know we're going to get ready to bring Laura back on because I want to have a chance to talk with both of you together because you're both amazing. But tell me quickly, your children are here helping. Look at your beautiful daughter and your amazing son. They come in and you're teaching them early to be a supporter, a donator, a philanthropist, a young. Because I say it, people think you have to wait till you have millions. You don't. You need to start with volunteerism and support today. And your husband, I've seen him at the front. Those are her. Oh, that was Pierce, her husband, Michael Ely. I've seen him in the front with your kids donating. I mean, what is this? You drive to St. Anne's, you drive to work, and he's at the front dropping off a donation.
Yeah.
You're a real family who's committed to helping our community, and we thank you for it. And we will help in that fight in terms of making sure that food is a right, not a privilege. It is a basic necessity, and people should have access to healthy food. And you said something really quickly about when you expose a young person to something and they're like, oh, they don't know that, or they don't know they could have that. We have to show them and give them opportunity, even if they taste it and don't like it. Healthy food is important to all communities, and especially with the high rates of diabetes and all the different things.
No, I think it's an attack.
Yeah.
I think it's an attack to our community, what they have done. Okay. I take it, like, I get offended. I take it personal because it just feels like you want this population to be unhealthy. You want them to deal with high blood pressure, obesity, and, insulins. Like, there's ways to avoid all of that, but yet you just keep feeding in their brain. In my brain, I mean, I grew up on welfare and Section 8 housing. So I grew up for majority of my life going grocery shopping with food stamps.
At the corner store and everything.
At the corner store.
Not the best food there. You don't have the healthy choices, and the cost is so high sometimes when you go to get some of the healthier foods that if you have a certain amount of money, unfortunately, you're going to pick what is less. But yeah, we will continue to fight that fight and be aware of the fact that what we put into our body means everything, and health and wellness is important for us. We're going to bring Laura back on because I want to have you two on screen having that conversation. Katira, first of all, I have to say thank you, and you're not going yet, but I'd like to say thank you so much for all that you have done on behalf of every young woman and child that has come through this program, those who are working with Chef Courtney, those who will just remember Miss Katira came and did this with us and we had a great time. those memories will be maintained. And I see we've moved over, so am I centered, Katira? We're making sure we're all
You
centered,
are.
Katira. But you, Katira, I think you have to come this way a little bit. Yes, there we are. We want to see your beautiful face. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for coming back. So you heard what we were talking about, Laura. Katira's an amazing volunteer. You've been here. What are some of the things that, moms experience, various ages, various points of life? We're all going through the same thing in different ways. What would you all say to moms out there who are listening in terms of what thoughts or tips you can give them in just terms of helping be supportive at this point? Either one of you. I know you've given a little bit already, Laura, but I still want to share with both of you to say one of the reasons why we do Momversations in this way is to bridge the gap. There's this view of young moms or moms in programs, and guess what? You're both dealing with the same thing in different ways. We're all dealing with it. And so we want to show people that, you know, there's always ways to
Well,
support and help and
I
bridge
will
that gap.
I will say that when we're sitting around that dinner table and we're having a conversation, it cannot be more visible how similar we all are. And the theme of the evening naturally and organically just ends up being ask for help. Don't ever feel like you're an obligation. That, and I know that our background makes us feel that way, and our situation has, kind of made us think that any kind of help is a vulnerability and a sign of weakness, and we're constantly in survival mode, and you have to stay strong and just toughen it out. But you never know who is going to be the one that's going to step up and show up. So you have to consistently ask for help, because vulnerability is beautiful. And I think from my background and a majority of this population, they've really made vulnerability look like a weakness. And that is wrong, because as mothers and as people, as this, like, God made us to bear these kids. And now you want me to be all like, I don't need help. Like, that's just so crazy to me. And that dinner, that's what it is. It's just ask for help and let us know what you need. And don't be ashamed of it, because somebody is going to show up.
Thank you, Laura.
What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, I see you want to say something. We want to hear what you say. Thanks, Katira.
I think along the same lines, from being in the program and being in transitional housing, also looking out for your peers as well, like reaching out to them and asking them if they need anything, if they're good. And because some people might not feel comfortable to ask for that help, or they might feel like they're putting too much of themselves onto someone else, and they don't want to feel that burden go on to someone else. So I think, like, just as a community, like, reach out to those and your neighbors and everyone else to see if they need anything, if they need help with anything, and kind of just look out for each other.
Well, that sense of community is necessary more than ever now, Laura. That's a great point, because people sometimes they don't want to ask for help. As Katira said, sometimes, unfortunately, in a culture, it's a sign of weakness. The reality is we all need each other. And if we realize that more, and people were able to depend on each other and see that we all are working towards the same goal, I think we'd be better off as a society. So you raise an amazing point. But I will say that what I've always been impressed with is within this program and in many programs throughout the country, that the bond with the residents, with each other, lasts a lifetime. Would you say that's true, Laura? Would you say that many of the connections made with other residents last well beyond when people leave the program?
Most definitely.
I also noticed during the dinners that some of the girls that are sitting around the dinner, they know each other, but they've never spoken until that dinner. And to get together in the kitchen and make something together and have to ask help, like, can you pass that? Or, hey, how does this look? Hey, I'll take the carrots, you take the tomatoes. They have told me at the end of the dinner that they were always, they always thought that that girl talked about them, or they always felt scared. They didn't know if they could go, or they felt judged, or maybe there was some rift. And for whatever reason, it was all an assumption and it was a misunderstanding. And they really, created a bond over this dinner. And it took me back to my mom at 17 when she had me. All she had was her 5 sisters. My mom is one out of 9. And without her sisters, I don't think she could have done what she did. And I lost my mom to cancer very young. And I don't think my aunts missed a beat. I don't know where I would be if I didn't have my aunts. So if the other advice, and it's echoing what Laura said, is no one is going to help you more than another woman. No one. No one's going to know what you're going through than another woman. So sisterhood is your power.
Yes.
And I really hope, I don't know, I know it's hard because so much has been against this population. But one thing that I take from those dinners that really, really sits with me is that sisterhood that they create after that dinner. Hopefully it stays, not sure. But for that act, they got it.
Yeah. Well, I thank you both so much. You know, I said this before. It seems like right before we have a Momversation, there's always something going on in the world, in the community. And, we want to bring hope and light. There's so much happening, but our intention with this conversation is for people to be aware of who we are and what we're doing, but also to bring a conversation and a narrative that's positive so that people can see there are great people in the world like you two who are trying to make an impact, who are working through challenges. You both talked about challenges and, overcoming those challenges with support and guidance and now giving back. Both of you are giving back. Laura's here giving back, Katira's giving back. So, that each one teach one concept is genuine. So thank you for your continued support. Thank you. We look forward to seeing how we can continue to help. We're getting ready to build this patio health and wellness space. If you know people that have equipment or any type of patio decoration skills or decor, I told Dana I would make sure that I'd put the ask out to the entire community because you know how important it is, both of you right now, outdoor spaces. We can't go anywhere. We're challenged with masks, which we will wear because it's important. But when we go outdoors, we need to have spaces for our young people. Maybe we can do a dinner outdoors, an outdoor dinner, because we're not able to congregate, internally. We can look and figure out what we can do. But we're looking right now to create an outdoor space and have some furniture and some things come in. But thank you both. Thank you for leading from the heart. Laura, we expect to see you many times in the future. And I'm looking forward to hearing all the wonderful things. So I want to see your children 20, 30 years from now so I can sit back and I remember both of your children. I'm going to sit back and say, I remember when those little kids used to come and help, and now they're doing their own thing in college or whatever their paths may be, that they are now little philanthropists. Laura, I'm saying that to you and to Katira. So thank you so much. Any last words before we transition?
And thank you for including me to be a part of this and for everything you guys do to keep this going.
Thank you. Thank you for being a part of our essential organization. Have a great day, and we're just going to wrap
Me
up.
too.
Thank you. So thank you all. Great conversation with two amazing people. We're thankful. Like I said, we really are looking for support. People ask all the time. Donations, of course, are always welcome. But if you can help us to really have this patio and this outdoor area that we desperately need to come together. We're going to have a wellness space where there's going to be exercise and some other pieces that we need, but we need if you look at that space, we need patio umbrellas. That's a rendering by Perkins and Will, but those things aren't out there yet. But we need patio umbrellas, where string lights, wooden benches, 4 to 5 patio tables, seating with armchair. We really want an outdoor projection screen and video projector. So if someone out there has connection with the ability for us to have where we can play movies outside for our families. We're looking for exercise equipment, exercise bike, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, an exercise bench, a tall punching bag. So thank you very much. Anyone that can support and continue to help us out. Thank you to our board of directors, our board of trustees, and our amazing staff. Our amazing staff has continued to provide support for every family, you know, man, woman, child in the program on a daily basis. So thank you, and join us again for the next Momversations. Stay safe, stay healthy, and continue to fight on behalf of the needs of those in our community. Be well.